back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountains, living on the mountains. Go back to the mountains, turn the world around. We come from the mountains, living on the mountains. Go back to the mountains, turn the world around. Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? See we one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Oh, so is life.
Ah, so is life.
Oh, so is life.
Ah, so is life.
When the sun shines on the mountains and the night is on the run, it's a new day, it's a new way, and I fly up to the sun. I can feel the morning sunlight, I can smell the newborn hay, I can hear God's voices calling on my golden starlight way. Una paloma blanca, I'm just a bird in the sky. Una paloma blanca, over the mountains I fly. No one can take my freedom away. Una paloma blanca, I'm just a bird in the sky. Una paloma blanca, over the mountains I fly. No one can take my freedom away.
Not all revolutions roar. Some begin in stillness, a thought, a question, a mind that dares to shift. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the TEDx Orbis School Youth event. I, Rudrani,
And I, Jitansh.
are your hosts for today's event.
When was the last time you truly listened to the silence? In an age of endless chatter, are we really listening or just scrolling past the moments of quiet? We live in a world that celebrates the loud and the fast. But what if the most impactful transformations are the ones we barely notice until they've already changed everything?
The steady accumulation of knowledge, the quiet resilience of young people finding hope midst crisis. This is the essence of our theme, a quiet revolution. So get ready to experience ideas that might just start a ripple effect in your own life.
Today isn't just another event. It's a celebration of young minds, brave voices, and ideas powerful enough to change the way we see the world. This year, we explore themes that touch our daily lives, our relationships, and our future. A stage where curiosity matters, where imagination is instilled, and where our thoughts and stories are valued. TEDx is not just about listening to ideas. It's about letting those ideas move us, challenge us, and transform us. It is a powerful reminder that the ideas worth spreading can come from anyone, anywhere.
Welcome to something special. Welcome to TEDx. This TEDx event is part of a global conversation that takes place every day in every corner of the world. In schools, in theaters, in workplaces, even in prisons, people gather to hear the best ideas bubbling up in their communities. More than 3,000 TEDx events are held every year in 170 countries. It's a remarkable thing. TEDx events are self-organized. under a license from TED, a non-profit organization devoted to discovering and sharing powerful ideas in the form of TED Talks. It's not TED itself, but your local TEDx team of volunteers that has done all the work to put on today's event, including booking all of the speakers. It's this team's ideas, dedication, and time that have made this possible. We really hope today's program sparks an exciting conversation. This is a day for curiosity and for skepticism, for inspiration and for action. The more you enter into it, the more you will take out. And now, on with the show.
So as we begin this experience together, we invite you to be present, to reflect. To begin our TEDx Youth journey, we have a speaker who believes that communication is more than just talking. Please welcome witty and wise Pragna Tejaswini from class 11.
Wow, that's a lot of people. I don't think I can do this. Can I go? No? I'm stuck? Oh well, might as well go through with it. Hi, or rather, good morning. My name is Pragna Tejaswini, but right now, I want all of you out there to put on your thinking hats and imagine walking up to someone filled with excitement, ready to share something that made your day. Either to be met with a flat face or joy and excitement reflected in their eyes that mirrors yours. And none of this actually needed any words. Tell me, how many of us have been in this exact situation? But now, for all of the scientific minds out there, human civilization lived for centuries before structured languages even existed, and life back then could even be termed as simpler. Even animals to this very day live harmoniously without exchanging a single word. Though I agree, visualizing a world without words is tough to even consider. But emotions, they're felt so deeply that when one feels, they feel it completely. For another person to properly comprehend this requires face-to-face interactions and being able to uncover the true feelings behind the mask put up for society. I know I hated that era, but let's jump back to the COVID period, when many people lost their lives or their loved ones. I remember the day I lost my aunt. After a while, me and my mom just sat there, and I could feel her pain as she sat next to me. This was the moment I decided I would be strong for her. After a few months, when we finally went to my grandparents' house, the place my aunt had lived in, I could feel every person's sorrow there. It overwhelmed me. But one thing stayed, and this was the fact that my mom, who had once needed strength, chose to become the strong one for her parents, with absolutely nothing spoken. Just presence, just stillness. And for that one moment, our pain might not have disappeared. Honestly, it might have not even shrank, but it became something we all carried together instead of alone. Moments like these remind us that the deepest parts of life don't need any vocabulary. Okay, how about this? Let's take this to a larger scale. I love Gen Z, and I'm definitely not biased as a 2009 born myself. Although, jokes aside, Gen Z is one of our best generations yet. Yes, we're messy, loud, and chaotic, but we're also the first generation that chooses to express their emotions rather than toughing it out. When something bothers us, the people around us know it. We choose not to hide in silence, communicate instead, and deal with it. And here's the irony. Even though we talk more than any other generation out there, with comments, captions, DMs, and so much more, our real communication happens in the pause before we reply, the silent look we share with a friend, and the small shifts in our behavior. Gen Z chooses to break societal norms and stand up for themselves. We're moving into a world where weighing in on someone else's life isn't just how things are, but what it really is, unnecessary and unwelcome. Yet people still choose to say words that harm other people and make them crawl back into their shells. Mental health awareness is no longer a stigma. It is a very real and very needed topic in every person's life. Because in a world where words are thrown around carelessly, their weight has never mattered more. So think about it. Honestly, take a second. Do we really need words if it's doing more harm than good? A person criticizes another person and completely forgets about it. But the one criticized thinks about it constantly and beats themselves up over it. So even if you could be having the most direct conversation you can think of, there's always something being left out. But is it really left out if you can always see it in their face or eyes? Remember, silence is not empty. It's where the real meaning settles. So let's rewind to just a few minutes ago. If I had walked in here with a slouched posture, my hands trembling, and a complete mess of nerves, that's the version of me you would have believed. And in all fairness, I did enter like that, don't sue me. But here I stand, calm and confident, and nothing about who I am really changed. That is the power of a world without words. Thank you.
Thank you, Pragna, for reminding us that sometimes silence speaks the loudest and a single expression can hold more meaning than a sentence. Our next speaker explores something we all experience, the overwhelming noise of modern life. From constant notifications to endless pressures, he invites us to slow down and rediscover clarity. Please welcome our next speaker, Josh Sahasra Buddhe, on stage.
Saturday morning. This is what my house sounded like. The fan was cranking like it thought it was a speeding train. The pressure cooker proudly blowing its third whistle. My dad coughing dramatically because he tried to drink water too fast, as if hydration were a competitive sport. The doorbell rang every few minutes as if it had a daily quota to meet. And from downstairs, my friend yelled, "Josh, are you ready to play yet?" In all this, there was one person who looked completely at peace, my older sister. She sat at her desk, large lavender headphones on, swaying through Taylor's Life of a Showgirl, as if she were her DJ in her own imaginary music festival, while scrolling Instagram and actively participating in a rapid-fire group chat on her laptop. My mom tucked the headphones and asked, "Why are you wearing those?" My sister, calm and serious, said, "I'm drowning out the noise so I can be locked in." Locked into what? Information overload? Overconnectivity? Chaos? The constant ping of notifications, endless scroll of feeds, messages demanding for our attention. Every headline, every post, every update pulls us further from the present and deeper into a world that's filtered, targeted, and silently noisy. Our thoughts don't get a break. Our attention is constantly being pulled in 100 different directions. The real noise isn't outside, but inside our minds. And when everything is shouting for our attention, nothing truly gets through. Let me ask you, has this happened to you? You're at a restaurant, the food finally arrives. It looks amazing. And just as you're about to dig in, someone inevitably says, wait, let's take a picture first." And then begins a mad scramble to angle a selfie just right. And of course, that doesn't work. So they find someone to take a picture for them. All this while, the food, its flavor, its aroma, is basically screaming, "Eat me already!" But the photo's already sent, and everyone is busy zooming into their own faces. Yes, we are together, but surrounded by the noise of capturing our lives. Are we truly present in the moment? Technology is a great connector. It really is. But somewhere along the way, we have stopped choosing when to connect and started letting the noise choose for us. We need moments of stillness, moments where we actually listen to the people, the space, the sound that remind us we exist in a world that's more than technology. My dad decided to try something revolutionary, turning Saturday into a tech-free zone. Let me tell you, the first Saturday was painful. There was a lot of complaining and whining, and I'm pretty sure my mom complained the loudest. But my dad is brave. He didn't give up. The next Saturday, resigned to our fate, we kept our devices away. I noticed how uncomfortable the digital quiet felt, how my thoughts felt incomplete, how my hand kept reaching for a phone that wasn't there. I took a deep breath and realized, for the first time in a while, I wasn't reacting. I wasn't scrolling. I wasn't consuming any content. I was just there. It felt unfamiliar to sit with my own thoughts, with nothing to distract myself from them. Honestly, it also felt a little scary because I had no idea what to do with all this free brain space. My sister came through in that moment. Laying on the floor, complaining of boredom, she dared to dramatically ask, "Can human brains even survive without Wi-Fi? What if my brain rots?" We laughed. We talked. We shared. Not forwards, but our own thoughts. No notifications. No screens. No reels. No music. But wait, I could hear music. A neighbor learning to play the flute. A woodpecker pecking outside my window. Something I had never noticed before. My mother narrating an incident from her childhood. I could even hear myself think clearly. As Saturdays continued, things shifted. Nothing dramatic, no big aha moment. Not all Saturdays are perfect. There is always this occasional blip. Like the time my grandmother, who is active in 43 WhatsApp groups, yes, 43, was caught trying to sneak a phone into the kitchen. My dad takes his invigilator duties quite seriously. I discovered something about myself. I am a great listener. I love listening to the people I care about their stories and mine. No curated feed, no captions, no likes, just voices, pauses, and meaning. It hits different. So what if we started listening differently? The hum of the fan, the whistling of the pressure cooker, the laughter, the doorbell, the chaos? Maybe we don't need larger headphones or screens or louder playlists. Maybe we just need to turn down the digital noise and turn up the sound of life. Because when we do, we don't just hear the world. We feel, we connect, we live. So the next time the world gets noisy, don't drown out the chaos. Lean in, listen, live in real life. Find your own version of a tech-free Saturday and join the quiet revolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Your message is a reminder that peace isn't found by escaping the world, but by learning how to navigate it with intention. Our next speaker brings us into a rather serious conversation, one that not only profoundly affects the present, but also our future. Please welcome Ahana Bansal of Class 10.
Good morning. Is everybody comfortable in their seats right now? Good, because you're about to not be. First of all, I'm going to start with something very ordinary, and I promise I'll make it uncomfortable. If you're from Delhi or any other major city, you've woken up on a winter morning, looked outside that window, and had a moment of confusion where you're not sure whether it's fog or smog. So you check the AQI like it's the weather and go, oh, it's 400 today, which is terrifying, but also somehow still in routine. We still go to school, we still go to the office, and we still tell kids, don't run around too much. And at some point, we just stop asking why any of this is acceptable at all. Here is what I have realized. Human beings are incredible at adapting to discomfort, but absolutely terrible at questioning the systems that create it. Now, I'm not here to make you comfortable. I'm here to make you slightly uneasy, because discomfort is usually the moment thinking actually begins. Right now, the world is shaped by two massive forces we prefer to discuss separately because it makes conversations easier: climate and conflict. We treat it like a multiple choice question with only one correct answer. After years of sitting in Model UN, drafting heroic solutions to water scarcity, beautiful clauses like urges member states to considering the considerations of water sharing agreements, I've only ever seen one ending. The resolution died, vetoed, amended into nonsense, or simply lost because the delegate of France went out for samosas and never came back. That's when it hit me. The world isn't run on policy documents or beautifully worded resolutions. It's run on policy, scarcity, fear, panic, and whatever's left in the national budget after someone decides, fighter jets feel so emotionally reassuring right now. When climate change takes away water, fertile land, predictable weather, societies don't respond like Hermione Granger calmly raising their hand. They respond like Marvel's Hulk, stressed, reactive, aggressive, and very, very bad at long-term planning. Crops fail, people migrate. People migrate, host regions panic. Host regions panic, governments lose legitimacy, and a power vacuum opens up. And historically speaking, as we all know, power vacuums never stay empty for long. But the cycle doesn't end there. War feeds straight back into the climate breakdown. Modern warfare burns forests, explodes oil wells, contaminates soil and water. And when the fighting finally seems to stop, reconstruction emissions make the planet pay all over again. It's like in a Bollywood movie where every single attempt to fix something somehow makes the situation worse. And when you finally think the situation couldn't get any more worse, you remember, nuclear weapons exist. Great, exactly what we need, right? A single nuclear detonation can push enough soot into the upper atmosphere to block sunlight, crash global temperatures, and destroy harvests, creating nuclear winter, which isn't science fiction. Look, I'm not saying this to scare you all. Okay, well, maybe a little bit, but mostly I'm saying this because pretending not to be scared hasn't worked out in our favor. And this is where the conversation becomes deeply uncomfortable, especially for women. Women face the most amount of disproportionate insecurities because when climate stress turns into conflict, it always hits women first and the hardest. The problem here isn't the lack of data, it's us. Psychologists tell us humans are built to respond to immediate threats, not slow-moving disasters, which is why we fall into something called the normalcy bias, a belief that if something hasn't collapsed yet, it probably won't in the future, and optimism bias, which convinces us that somehow consequences will magically land on somebody else. Under long-term stress, a chemical called cortisol rises. Reasoning collapses and societies slip into group thinking. Confidence starts mattering more than correctness. When climate stress turns into conflict, women are always hit first and the hardest. In drought regions, women are pulled out of school to walk further regions for water. In conflict areas created by water and food scarcity, rates of gender-based violence increase sharply. In refugee camps created by war, driven by climate change, women face disproportionate insecurity, limited healthcare, and almost no political voice. This isn't accidental, it's structural. Climate conflict exposes inequalities. It doesn't create them, but it amplifies them. So, basically, women's rights, peace, and climate justice aren't separate conversations. They are the same conversation packaged into one, somehow still pretending to be unique and different and not like the others. But what do we do with all of this discomfort? The problem isn't that we don't know enough. The problem is that we are too comfortable. comfortable breathing toxic air, comfortable watching wars happen somewhere else, and comfortable treating climate and conflict as two abstract ideas instead of one lived reality. History doesn't move when people are comfortable. It moves when we are uncomfortable long enough to demand better. Being uncomfortable doesn't mean being hopeless. It means refusing to look away. It means demanding that climate policy include peace policy, and that security actually means food, water, clean air, and education, not just weapons, and that the systems claiming to protect us are actually held accountable for the damage they cause. Because we are not facing 2, 3, 4 separate crises. It's one feedback loop. And until we get comfortable being uncomfortable, we'll keep asking the wrong question. So, I'll end where I began. Is everybody comfortable in their seats right now? That was never the plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahana, for exploring how environmental challenges and global conflict are connected and what this means for our generation. Change no longer waits to be announced. It uploads, organizes, and speaks up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome our next speaker, Nidhi from Class 9, who celebrates the power of young people. She will show us how Gen Z is reshaping activism using creativity, technology, and courage to change the world.
2 centuries ago, Henry David Thoreau told the world, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you have imagined. For us, as Gen Z, we live with this advice. That confident direction often begins with our personal space. Personally, I love and adore my personal space. It helps me recharge and process my emotions without the speculating eyes of others. Yes, we may be alone for hours on end, but let me be clear. We are never truly lonely. And when we do step back out, we bring our own dictionary, for it's more than a unique language, shall I say. I mean, instead of saying you did exceptionally well, what do we say? You ate, baddie, slay diva. These words have been incorporated into my vocabulary so much so that I have to be cautious of using it in front of millennials or boomers or basically the older generations. Growing up chronically online meant these type of slangs spread rapidly, creating a unique identity for ourselves, embracing activism and diverse identities. Now, if you told me to explain Gen Z with one image, it would definitely be this. A cat in sunnies and a headscarf, calmly sipping a cappuccino while a volcano violently erupts right behind it. This is a perfect representation of how unseriously serious our generation is. But this picture also hides a deeper meaning. The volcano here represents the unquestioned tradition and flawed structure of older generations. The cat represents us, choosing to be there, sipping our classic cappuccino, observing but never panicking. The volcano, a noun, the cost of conformity. The cat being the verb of disrupting the narrative and challenging the seriousness of the volcano, with a sprinkle of satire, of course. Well, now you might be wondering what sense I'm trying to bring by describing these as nouns and verbs. Well, as famously stated by Oscar Wilde, if you know exactly what you want to be in life, a teacher, a lawyer, or a judge, you will become it. And that is your punishment. Actually, not knowing what you want to be in life, reinventing yourself every morning, being a verb and not being a noun, moving in life and not being fixed in life is a privilege. We all are not nouns. We are verbs. I'm not a thing, an actor, a singer, or a dancer. I'm a person who does things. I act, I dance, I sing. We, the Gen Z, don't dream of being nouns. We dream of being verbs. We are not defined by who we are, but by what we do. This quiet vulnerability is essential for us to move forward with verbs, with stillness. This desire for inner fulfillment might make us look independent. And while we are, we know that this independence can't be mistaken for coldness. Because deep down, we are all hopeless romantics, cherishing those lovey-dovey reels that we see on Instagram. But here's the thing. There's a difference between the younger and the older generations. We are romantic about partnership, not possession. Historically, the idea of love was simple. Two people becoming as one. It was beautiful, sure, but it was also a concept of merging two lives completely, often sacrificing oneself. Love today focuses on practicality and individual fulfillment. Gen Z recognizes marriage as a partnership between two independent souls with their respective different goals. And now, when we do talk openly about mental health issues like depression, anxiety, or therapy, we are often dismissed as too sensitive or crazy. Well, we can't blame the older generations for this reaction entirely, because their perspective was shaped by this deep-seated cultural stigma which labeled vulnerability as failure, turning serious medical issues into private family matter. We had the exposure to new thoughts, new beliefs, new cultures, but not the previous generations. This quiet vulnerability helps us move forward as verbs with stillness. These social barriers are slowly changing. A quiet revolution is unfolding by Gen Z. We don't only strive to be the change we want to see in the world, but also help all those around us see the commonalities of the heart so that they would want to change. With us, think about the recent youth-led protests in Nepal, a friendly demonstration against a government ban on major social platforms. It was a digital uprising that led into the streets. And as that protest escalated, as the chaos grew, as the army got involved, the core lesson remained. In middle of the movement, in the face of the biggest chaos, keeping a sense of stillness within you is not optional. It is the most necessary act of all. Even on the stake, you must reach for stillness and you must be kind to yourself. Because the answers you seek never come when the mind is busy. They come when the mind is still. So, I invite you, close your eyes and notice. Find a moment of stillness and let your heart tell you where you really need to be. The quiet revolution is waiting for you there, inside your own silence. Thank you.
Thank you, Nidhi. You reminded us that future is not just something we inherit, it's something we create. So behold, dear audience, we're about to witness a vibrant expression of a cultural heritage. This dance form uses intricate hand gestures, expressive eyes, and a rhythmic footwork to narrate tales that evoke deep emotions.
Isn't it an exemplary specimen of a world without words as one of our exotic topics today? Please welcome them with a round of applause. What a mesmerizing performance. Thank you, Vaibhavi, Sahasra, and Ruchi. Our next speaker, Sridevi from class 11, will share her sparkling and innovative ideas. Please welcome her with a huge round of applause.
Thank God I never have to touch my math or science textbooks ever again. This was the version of me you probably would have seen after my board exams. But some of you may ask, how's this even related to her topic? So let's get on with that, shall we? Good morning, everyone. My name is Sridevi, and today I stand before you to speak on the topic lateral versus vertical thinking. You know, this topic reminds me of something that happened a few years ago. Whenever I used to score low in math, my father used to tell me, Sridevi, you use the right side of your brain way too much. You should be more focused on using the left side. And my poor, confused 13-year-old self used to look at him like this and wonder, what does he even mean? So well, now that I'm older and wiser, or so I would like to think, I've come to realize that the right side of your brain is associated with lateral thinking and the left with vertical thinking. That being said, this means that the right side of your brain is designed for the more creative aspects in life and the left for the more logical parts in it. So naturally, when I chose humanities after 10th, I thought that my toxic relationship with the left side of my brain was finally over. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Because vertical thinking decided to give me a slap to my face, after which I realized that this could be seen even in our daily lives. So let's get to that. Just like any other normal teenager would think, I had always associated these fancy terms with academics. Vertical thinking was math, and lateral thinking was English for me. I felt like Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree when realization dawned upon me that these concepts were so deeply ingrained into our lives that they could be seen everywhere. Except I didn't have to do years of meditation for enlightenment. All I had to do was submit my projects. Your index, the minimum number of pages required, the category, all of that is vertical thinking. Now how you customize your project, your fonts, your examples, the pictures you use, all of that is lateral thinking. So naturally, I thought that all of this was something that I would never have to face. Well, I was wrong again, because this made my life have a whole lot of sense. Think of your mind as a vehicle. It has always been taught to move in a straight line. But what if the road's blocked? What do? Take another route, obviously, right? So that moment where you have a eureka, hours or maybe days after an argument, wherein you suddenly realize that, oh, why didn't the perfect comeback occur to me before? That is because your brain finally decided to take a side route because the frontal perspective doesn't always work. Personally, I've always been a literature kid. The world of math and science was never meant for me to bother myself with. Keep that in mind while I tell you something. Something that I truly hope none of you remember by the time I'm done speaking. These subjects once frustrated me so much that I resorted to rote learning them. Can you imagine rote learning math and science? My parents were horrified. But something hit me. Teachers always tell us to not rote learn for our exams and understand the concepts. And all of us, including me, have wondered, what difference does it really make? Well, the difference is that the moment the question twists itself a little, vertical thinking fails you and your brain goes into panic mode. So now when vertical thinking is acting like the damsel in distress, lateral thinking must swoop in and save the day. And this is again where it must intervene. I'm sure most of you have heard of the author Amish Tripathi. He's quite famous, right? In one of my favorite books, he elaborates on the concept of the masculine and the feminine way of life. The former focuses on rules, rigidity, and structure, while the latter focuses on creativity, uniqueness, and freedom. This explains something extremely important to all of us. Take a moment to think about this. Do you think any civilization or any individual, for that matter, would be able to survive with just one of these while completely neglecting the other? Of course not. A world without lateral thinking would be filled with humans acting like robots, doing the same tasks over and over and over again. This would mean that narrow-mindedness would be on the rise, and people would be constantly limiting themselves from innovation. A world without vertical thinking would be filled with unbridled beings with little to no sense of self-control, because let's not forget, creativity is not just restricted to its positive thoughts. Inconsistency, chaos, and a poor standard of execution would be set here. How boring does all of this sound, right? Personally, it was an epiphany, realizing that it was never about a competition between these two. It was never about deciding which one was better. So I hate to admit it, Dad, but you were right. It turns out I do need the left side of my brain. Because you don't need to choose between being creative or being logical, because you need both of them in your life. Sure, you may favor one side more than the other, just like I did, but it is literally impossible for you to completely discard it. So here's one thing that I've learned. As someone who was once averse to the idea of vertical thinking, as someone who once blamed her brain, lateral thinking and vertical thinking are simply two sides of the same coin, designed to coexist, not compete. Thank you.
Thank you, Sridevi. Whether you're a problem solver or a dreamer, your message has something for everyone. Our next speaker talks about a challenge to the idea of perfection and reminds us that authenticity is more powerful than any filter. Jyotsna from class 10 is here to encourage us to embrace who we truly are, both online and offline. Please welcome her with a thunderous round of applause.
Imagine opening an app, not Instagram, not TikTok. An app which shows every version of yourself that never existed. One version where you were braver. One version where you looked better. One version where you spoke up sooner. And one where you became someone people approved of. This app doesn't guide you. It doesn't heal you. It just keeps you scrolling. And the scariest part? Every version of you feels possible. That's not science fiction anymore. It's the direction in which social media is already heading. Today, we compare ourselves not just to other people's lives, but to alternate versions of our own. And that's what really strikes over here. That we as humans didn't start comparing with Instagram. We started scrolling memes, reels, whatnot. But comparison started thousands of years ago, when people compared strength in battles, then intelligence, then wealth, then beauty. Comparison has always existed. It's just that before you would compare yourself to a few people in your village, but now you compare yourself to an entire planet at its most edited, perfected, filtered moment. That's not evolution. It's overload. I grew up in a city which lives two lives at once. Half tradition, half tech park. One moment, I'm stuck in traffic, and the next, I'm watching a 15-second clip of someone my age in New York, living a way more fancier life than mine. And suddenly, my real life feels smaller. This is not just me, but thousands of teenagers across the globe. And what strikes over here as well is that we have started comparing ourselves so much so that we have started losing ourselves. But it's essential to understand that social media didn't really start everything. For our generation, social media isn't extra. It's the background noise of life. It tells us what to wear, how to talk, what slang expired this week. And the craziest part, that we follow everything. We also follow what ambition should look like. Startup founder, content creator, influencer. In this generation, where expectations already run high, from good grades, a good college, a good future, social media doesn't create pressure. It amplifies it. It gives us another invisible exam to worry about. Are you interesting enough? Netflix clips, reels, shorts. And the crazy part is, they are perfect for our attention span because our lives are already fragmented. From school bells, notifications, parental pressure, friends, and so on. The list never ends. But let me tell you one thing. We don't scroll because we are lazy. We scroll because it's the only place where no one's asking us to be better, to be smarter, to be perfect. We go there to be entertained, to feel numb for a bit, to experience bits and pieces of people's lives we never got to experience. But here's the big conflict. The big conflict arises when we want depth, we want meaning, we want to feel original, not copied by an algorithm, and that's why we scroll. We chase perfection, to be liked, to be loved. Well, now let me tell you something which sounds extremely scientific, bizarre, but is deeply human. The quantum theory. It states that a particle does not collapse on its own. It collapses while it's being observed. And I believe the same is happening with us. We collapse when there are so many expectations that are being put on us. We are constantly being watched, liked, judged, compared. And here's what really strikes out again over here for us, that social media doesn't just give us an audience. It turns us into performers, even if the audience exists in our heads. But the brutal fact, these imaginary watchers have way more power, control over us than real people ever did. There's this quote from Neil Postman. He says, "Every technology is both a burden and a blessing. Not either or, but this and that." Social media is one absolutely amazing case for this. Social media, which started out to help us connect better with friends, family, relatives, turned out to become something which has destroyed us. We have started comparing so much every other day. We have started a life of performances. I like to call it the exhibit of perfect human beings. Every single individual is perfect and flawless. We don't go here for inspiration. We go here for comparison. As a Gen Z, I don't think we're addicted to our phones. I think we're addicted to approval from universes that don't even exist. We don't fear failure anymore. We fear being ordinary. So we edit ourselves. We shrink ourselves. We collapse into expectations. Not because we're weak, but because we're constantly being watched. And that's what it makes very difficult for us to explain ourselves so many times, because we've stopped choosing growth over performance. We need to start doing so and turn our lives a reality and not a performance for the rest of the world. The most radical thing my generation can do is not go viral. It's to stay human in a world that profits from turning us into products. Thank you.
That was an eye-opener, Jyotsna. Let's get ready to meet someone from the generation that grew up online, but is bringing real-world change offline. We are talking about Gen Z, the digital natives. Give a big round of applause for a versatile speaker, India Panikar of Class 9.
You may ask, what's this? This is a seed, a tiny speck, almost invisible, not worth the mention, but full of promise. This seed may grow into a tree one day, shading neighborhoods, offering fruit, offering hope. And this seed reminds me of something you may have heard in history class. Revolutions don't always roar, sometimes they root. So I carry it with me, waiting for roots. Today, I want to talk about what it's like holding a seed, not of a tree, but of change, about a generation that asks, what can we grow now? Something that's small and ready to sprout. Because Gen Z activism isn't just a weekend fancy. It's daily, it's digital, it's immediate, it's global, and it's local. And I didn't realize this through lived experience, but through social media threads and posts. Let's take this. Every time an injustice appears, something familiar follows. Online posts begin to resurface with the same quiet questions. We've been here before, haven't we? How many more? And what changed after the last time? And these aren't just heartfelt emotions, but rather they seem to be drawing comparisons. Gen Z doesn't reshare these moments to reopen wounds or to relive the past and the trauma, but to measure the present, to ask what has moved forward and what hasn't moved at all, to track progress on sometimes the lack of it. In that sense, Gen Z doesn't just remember, we document. We turn moments into records, records into patterns, and patterns into questions that will never be forgotten. So I ask you, what does this seed mean for us today? It means possibility, slow, like a tree growing, or fast and explosive, like voices becoming action. Sometimes activism and outrage grows out of frustration, out of shutdowns, and from the refusal of being silenced. Every injustice is like a notification we can't ignore. In September 2025 in Kathmandu, the government banned over 26 major social media platforms. And this wasn't just their apps gone, but it was a plug pulled on their voice. So what did they do? They poured into the streets. Students, dreamers, and everyday young people saying, we will not be muted. The result was tragic. 74 lives were lost, but the government was forced to reverse course. And this echoes everywhere. Youth refusing to wait. Using their energy not for distraction, but for demand. Not for apathy, but for agency. Plant hope, water it with conviction, shield it from cynicism, and you give it the chance to grow into something beautiful. So I ask you, what seeds are you holding in the palm of your hand? What will you plant with your voice, your words, and your actions in this soil of justice, dignity, and hope? Because Gen Z doesn't wait for change, we plant it. We screenshot our problems and refuse to mute the conversation. Even a small share can turn and shake a big system. Every viral moment is a crack in the walls that we refuse to stop pushing against. Pixels become people power, hashtags become handshakes, and virtual outrage becomes public anger. Thank you.
Thank you, India. We are proud of you. Most of us have spent hours scrolling through images of perfect lives, perfect trips, meals, and moments. The quiet pressure to curate our own highlights and hide the real often leaves us feeling inadequate and disconnected, even in a world more connected than ever. Our last speaker for session 1, Arham of class 8, has dedicated his speech to explore this very idea, the profound power of embracing our true selves in a world obsessed with filters. Please welcome with a huge round of applause.
Hi everyone, I am Aram Sangvi and I am a teenager, which basically means half my life is homework and the other half is wondering why my phone battery dies faster than my motivation. Today, I'm here to talk we don't say out loud. The pressure to look perfect on social media and the quiet revolution that's starting even though no one is talking about it yet. Before we start, I have a question for all of you. Please raise your hands if you are on social media. Let it be YouTube, let it be Instagram, let it be Twitter. Most of you, because who would want to miss out on the latest trends? So, let me start with something honest. There have been days where I've deleted the same photo again and again and again. Not because the photo was bad, but because it didn't feel good enough. Maybe my hair looked weird. Maybe my face didn't match yesterday's picture. Or maybe someone else posted the same picture, just better. Well, there have also been moments when I've scrolled to Instagram and felt not inspired, not entertained, just smaller. As if everyone else was living their best life and I was watching it happen. You know that feeling, right? When everyone's vacation looks like a travel ad and you're here taking photos of your dog who refuses to sit still. Well, really, then something small happened. But before that, let us get to the scary part of social media. The scary part is that our fun turns into performance when content turns into our life and then our posting turns into proving. Well, then something small happened. Then that changed the way I saw everything. A friend of mine posted a picture. Well, no filters, no nothing, just her laughing. Well, eyes real, completely real. The post got fewer likes, but the comments were different. People connected, people talked, people shared stories. That's when it hit me. Maybe the revolution we need isn't loud. Maybe it's quiet. Maybe it's choosing real over perfect, even if it's one imperfect post at a time. Well, then I tried something different. I stopped comparing my life to someone else's best 5 seconds. I stopped deleting photos because they looked too real. Then I felt something different. I felt lighter. Not because my life suddenly became perfect, but because I stopped making it look perfect. Well, here's something I think all teenagers know. Every teenager is insecure. Everyone compares and everyone feels the pressure. But people don't know that we created this pressure. So that means we can also break it. Not by quitting social media, not by judging them who use filters, but by giving ourselves permission to be human. Well, my message for all of you today is that don't let internet decide your worth. Don't let filters decide your confidence. And don't lose your personality to perfection. Well, and the bravest thing our generation can do is by showing up as ourselves and being brave enough to be real in a world that really needs more of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Arham. We appreciate your perspective. On this note, we conclude our first session of today's event. I invite all our speakers on stage for felicitation. I request our Director Principal, Gunjan Srivastava, to please do the honors. I request our Principal, Farida Ma'am, and our Vice Principal, Sheena Ma'am, to kindly come up on stage. Dr. Sangeeta Thampi, Project Lead, the Orchid School, to kindly join us on stage. Dear speakers, you have mesmerized us with your exceptional thought process. Please step forward to receive the token of appreciation as your name is called out. Pragna.
Josh.
Ahana.
Nidhi.
Sridevi.
Jyotsna.
India.
Aram. Congratulations to each and every exceptional speaker over here. Can we have a huge round of applause for all of them? I invite the entire TEDx team on stage for a group photograph. Artistic conception of the TEDx logo has been designed by Akanksha Dasgupta and Sofiya Tamboli of Class 9. TEDx website has been curated by Avadhoot, Sumedh, Shaurya, and Ayush. We truly appreciate the contributions of all students, teachers, and volunteers.
We thank all the dignitaries, participants, and students. You may take your seats.
Every pause prepares us for something greater. Welcome back, distinguished guests and our lovely audience. With refreshed minds, we now commence session 2, where we explore fresh perspectives and engaging conversations. Our first speaker is a multi-talented young adult and our proud alumnus, Kanakdeep Kaur Sohal. Please welcome her with a round of applause. Good afternoon. Now, let's start with something quickly. Show of hands. Raise your hands if you've taken a photo, looked at it, and thought, not this one. Keep your hands raising if you've deleted that photo and retaken it. And keep them raising if you've done this multiple times over and over and over again. Well, yeah, me too. See, that's the issue. We don't look at ourselves how we want to look at us. We look at ourselves how others or social media are supposed to look at us. We delete, we retake, we re-edit. We don't even post at the end of the day. And in a survey conducted in 2023, 70% of the people said they like how they look. They like their bodies, they like their face. Yet, they still feel compelled to change themselves before they post it online. And why is that? It's not insecurity, it's conditioning. We don't think we're bad. We think social media will think that we're bad. And therefore, I don't think it's self-doubt, but it's again conditioning how others will think. It's not I think that I'm bad. It's what others will think. Am I bad? So that's why I say social media is not real life. It's a highlight reel. Like you will see me go home today and post, I gave my first TED talk today, #killing it. But you won't really see me, I had a breakdown last night, #not killing it. Will you see me that? No, because that's not how the algorithm works. It's made for ideal body, ideal skin, the curated happiness. It's not sitting around for sadness. And that's why 3+ hours a day equals 2 times the risk of body image issues, because of which self-esteem drops and anxiety rises. And at the end of the day, you just end up thinking, I'm not good enough. And we often start comparing our behind the scenes with someone else's final cut, which might also just be someone else's behind the scenes. Let's say I take a challenge. I'm going to lose 5 kgs in a month. And within a week, you see me posting a selfie, #lost weight, and everybody else sits and thinks, she lost weight in a week and I've not been able to lose it since so long. What am I doing in life? Now, is this my final cut? No, it's still my behind the scenes. So whatever you see on social media, that's not true. As a psychology student, I've come to this understanding that we don't look at ourselves how others or everybody else looks. We look at ourselves how social media looks at us. We chase likes for dopamine, which is our brain's chemical for happiness. We compare our self-worth with the engagement on my post, the likes. Did my friends comment, I look pretty? Did they? So we changed from feeling to looking. We've stopped asking ourselves, how do I feel today, Kanak? I now ask, Kanak, is this postable? Do you think this will work online? That's the shift. 30% people say social media worsens body image. It leads to more depressive symptoms. And I don't think that's really the way we should be going. Now, look at my photo. Don't I look nice? Be honest. Don't I look pretty? Thank you. That's what I thought. Until I opened social media. And I suddenly realized, my hair looks too frizzy. Look at my cheeks. Don't they look too chubby? My arms, where's all that fat coming from? And just like that, a photo, which was once beautiful, in my opinion, was no longer even worthy of posting on Instagram. What changed? Did the photo change? No, but my lens did. My lenses changed. And just like that, we're not just users anymore. We're brands. We don't depict what we are. It's depict who we are. How do we look? How do we see ourselves? Now, breaking free is not equal to quitting social media. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not telling you to shame on influencers or quit social media platforms, quit the internet for all that. But maybe quit your thinking. Stop comparing your self-worth with the photos you post outside. Stop looking at social media as a mirror. It's a tool. Use is that a tool. Please, don't die edited. You were born free of all these likes and comments and everything else that we've created. You were born beautiful. You were born natural. Please stop using out your entire life soothing out the very things that make you human. Please don't die edited. Thank you.
Thank you, Kanak. It was truly inspirational. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is the youngest sunshine of today's event. The most refreshing perspective is ready to be served. Please welcome Agraja of Class 5.
Hello everyone. Before we begin, can you please close your eyes for a moment? Imagine a world where your mind feels light, quiet and peaceful. Sounds nice, right? I am Agaraja Shilke and today I will talk about how we can bring that peaceful world into our busy modern lives. Let us think about something that we all hear, but we rarely notice. It's not the honking on the roads. It's not the loudspeakers during festivals. And it's not even the construction outside our homes. It is a different kind of noise. A noise that we all carry inside us. The noise of the modern world. Today, I will talk about minimizing the noise of the modern world. What is this noise? This noise is the endless notifications on your phone, the pressure of deadlines, the rush to finish everything, the constant comparison on social media, the feeling that life is running faster than we can keep up. It is the noise of do more, achieve more, look perfect, be perfect. And this noise doesn't let us hear the most important voice of our own. Let me make you understand a small scenario. One evening, I saw my parents sitting together, but they were not talking. My father was checking emails, my mother was scrolling through messages, and I was finishing my homework on my tab. 3 people in one room with 3 different worlds. I suddenly realized we were together but not connected. That silence in the room had more noise than the traffic outside. How the modern world steals our peace. Today, adults wake up with a phone and sleep with a phone. You open WhatsApp and 50 messages shout your name. You open Instagram and 1,000 people tell you how to live. You open the news and the world tells you to worry. This noise is not just sound. It is stress, competition, and distraction. And slowly, without noticing, we lose our patience, our focus, our joy, and sometimes even our relationships. What can we do? Even though I am just in class 5, I want to share 3 simple ways to minimize this noise. Number 1, create a no noise app. Just 1 hour a day. where no phones, no TVs, no laptops, no notifications exist. You can read, walk, talk, pray, or just breathe. Imagine 1 hour of peace every day. Your mind will surely thank you. Number 2, listen more, react less. When we pause before replying, when we understand before judging, when we think before shouting, the world becomes quieter. Not outside, but inside. Number 3, connect with real people, not just virtual ones. Sit with your family without screens. Talk to your children without distractions. Look into someone's eyes while speaking. Because human connection is the strongest volume button. It can lower all the noise around us. A question for every adult here. When was the last time you listened to the sound of your own heartbeat? Or the laugh of your child without recording it? Or the silence of the morning without checking your phone first? Well, if you can't remember, then the noise is already won. A gentle reminder. Our minds are like rooms. If the room is filled with noise, there is no space for peace. If it is filled with hurry, there is no space for happiness. If it is filled with comparison, there is no space for self-love. So today, let us all make space for silence, for calmness, for the people we love, and for ourselves. The modern world will always be loud, but the real power is in our hands. We can choose what to hear. We can choose what to ignore. We can choose when to pause. And sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is simply be quiet and listen. Thank you.
That was astounding. Thank you so much, Agraja. They said we were too young to lead, too distracted to care, too small to make a difference. Gen Z proved them wrong. Please welcome dynamic Devashri of Class 8 to share her thoughts.
Hello, everyone. Okay, we all know that people say Gen Zs are always on their phones. And you know what? At some point, they're right. Even I do believe that the young generation is always on their phones. And I feel like I'm also the part of it. But what the world never notices is what we are actually doing with those phones. Yes, I do agree that phones can distract us and even pull us into trends which are absolutely useless. But sometimes these phones can become the most important tool, like a superpower to do something meaningful. Before I go further, let me introduce myself. Good afternoon to one and all present here. I'm Devashri Dhaimaval from Class 8. And today, I would be speaking on the topic, the new activism, how Gen Zs are redefining social change. So, let me tell you all a story which I read a couple of months ago. There was a teenage girl walking down the street, like me. Then she heard an unusual noise. She was sure that the noise was not of the cars or people around. She looked around and spotted a puppy stuck, injured, and ignored by all people around. Then she opened the zip of a bag and took out a superpower. Any guesses what was a superpower? Yes, you're right. She recorded the video of the puppy and posted it on social media. Within 10 minutes, 40 strangers responded. Within 30 minutes, volunteers arrived. And in an hour, the puppy was safe and treated. After reading this, one thought came into my mind. Isn't this also activism? Unlike older days, although activism we know was only shouting, hooting, protesting, or making big banners just to convey your thoughts. Don't you think it is wrong to do so? But thankfully, Gen Zs are making a difference. Gen Z activism is digital, empathetic, thoughtful, and most importantly, impactful. Sometimes their activism can start through a comment like, "Nah, bro, I don't like that. That's not my vibe." Or through a share which can reach thousands of people in minutes. Everyone says that Gen Zs are always traumatized by everything around, or they don't care about emotions. But sadly, that's not the truth. We care about emotions. We spread awareness through memes, videos, reels, and photos in a funny way. And we are not alone. There are many Gen Z activists already leading movements like Priya Kanjuman, Gitanjali Rao, Greta Thunberg, and many more. Let me ask you a question. Did you notice one common thing in the names I mentioned here? Let me tell you all. The common thing was these all are not adults. They are teenagers. And you don't need to be 40 years old to create change. And sadly, some 40 years old today are not creating change, even they have potential to do so. All we need is just Wi-Fi, purpose, action, and courage. We Gen Zs never fight for attention, but we do fight for good intentions. Yes, there are many distractions around like fake news, edited realities, and negativity. If we let ourselves get manipulated, eventually we lose our power. But Gen Zs have a superpower. We think before we follow. We question things we don't blindly accept, and that's what makes our new activism stronger and stronger. So, the next time someone comes to you and says, "Oh, you're just a poor little kid. What can you do to create change?" Look into their eyes and say with courage and pride, "One kid with courage is a leader. 10 kids with purpose are a revolution. And a whole generation with hope can rewrite the whole world." Yes, we are Gen Zs. We never wait for the future. We simply start building it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for the fantastic talk. We live in a world saturated with language, billions of words spoken and typed every single day. But what would happen if we stripped all that away? Let's hear from Ranveer of class 11 to know more about the same.
Greetings, everyone. It is great seeing you all here. Now, let's take a moment to look around this auditorium, okay? You'll see students, teachers, and parents with different ages, different experiences, and 3 different definitions of the word fine. You see, when a student says, "I'm fine," it usually means, "Please don't ask." When a parent says it, it means, "We'll talk later." And when a teacher says it, it means that nothing is fine. And this is where my talk begins, with how often words say something, but they mean it in a completely different way. Now imagine if every word you spoke suddenly vanished. how much of you would still be understood? You know, this question bothered me. And it bothered me much more than I expected. You see, I've noticed numerous instances of people obsessed with talking, be it stating their opinions, fighting arguments, or sending messages. It's constant verbal traffic. What also bothers me is how people text a lot, but they often avoid real conversations. That's when I realized that words were present, but understanding wasn't. You see, in this day and age, we've built such a hyper-connected world where communication is instant, but understanding is optional. This constant exchange of messages has resulted in people replying much faster, but with less emotion. So words, and it has come to such a point where people will listen to you just to respond, but not to understand the situation deeply. So words begin dominating, but all meaning is lost when a real conversation lacks acknowledgement. And here's where my own experience comes in. You know, I've always been a man of less words. You could say I'm one of those quiet kids who'd sit in the corner of the class, staring outside the window, reconsidering life choices amongst my loquacious classmates. Now, I've noticed situations where people will rush in to fill the void. But that's where I take a pause. And in that pause, I begin to notice the subtle things like tone, body language, and expressions. The little things that words don't always reveal, but they do reveal what a person is like. Over time, I realized that silence doesn't hold communication back. It has helped me understand situations better and people more honestly. All right, so do you all remember how our lives were during the pandemic? Do you all remember how miserable they were at times? So, yeah, so the streets were quiet, there was less human noise. There was no mad rush for work or school. Life as we knew it took a pause. I would spend these moments of tranquility accompanied with a cup of tea, contemplating about everything that is going on in this world. For me, that silence was strangely familiar. I began to notice the things that I otherwise would have ignored. Subtle emotions that were buried under the constant activity. Are my surroundings, which I barely slowed down enough to see. Even nature quietly began to heal. So the silence of the pandemic didn't change the world overnight. It simply revealed what the perpetual noise had been hiding from us. Alright, so flashback, okay? 4 years ago, back in 2021, I would spend my moments of quietude with my family. As you can see, here's me working on some artwork with my mom. And I began to feed the wild feathered friends that would pay me a visit at my window. Watching them eat to their heart's content gave me a kind of solitude. And it was just so relaxing. All right, let's get back. So, now what's interesting is that these moments of stillness, the idea of these moments of stillness revealing the subtle things in our lives isn't new. Long before the pandemic forced us into our homes, poets were already asking us to take a pause. In his poem, Keeping Quiet, Pablo Neruda suggests that these moments of stillness are what allow us to reflect not just on the world around us, but on how we treat ourselves and one another. Neruda teaches us that silence is not the absence of words, but a space where meaningful words are born. So maybe that's what a world without words teaches us. Not that language is unimportant, but that understanding doesn't always live in sentences. Sometimes it lives in silence, in presence, and in observation. Because a world without words doesn't have to be empty and barren. It's simply, it lives in, it is attentive, it is reflective, and maybe, just maybe, it is more honest. Thank you.
Very well said, Ranveer. Is all that thinking and listening making you a bit drowsy? Don't worry, we've got you covered. Let's stretch our legs and refresh our minds. I invite the team to help freshen everyone up. Kindly stand up for the Zumba session.
Hello, everyone. Jump, 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 jump. Right, left, change, left, forward and back. To the side, to the side. Again. Stop those arms.
Get into the groove and move your body. Stop somebody. You wanna whine, say you wanna rhyme. Let the rhythm take you over. Let's go. When it takes you, let it go. Around the world, people dancing Zumba. Everybody dance and move it, move it. Everybody dance and move it, move it.
Thank you, Utkarsha, Shikha, Poonam, Arohi, Sakshi, Priyal, and Avni for a boost of energy. I am sure now you're ready to run a marathon after this session. But let's save it for another day and invite our next speaker, Divyansh of Class 7.
This is my brother's phone. Last month, it had 55 apps. Now, it has only 54. Now, you all might be wondering about that one app, right? Where did it go? What happened to it? Well, that is just where the whole story started. Good morning, everyone. I am Divyansh Bohra from the Orbis School Mundwa, and today I will be speaking about the new generation, the Gen Z, and how, with its quiet revolution, it is silently reshaping and revolutionizing
Our world, with its bottom-up movements, cybernated and virtual platforms, collaboration, and entrepreneurial and ethical choices. I would like to start with a thought I saw on TikTok, and it just cannot get out of my mind. Once you mature, you understand that your silence, your peace, your quiet is all way louder than your scream ever was. So 2 months ago, my elder brother Aryan came home from college fuming with anger. Guess what happened? He'd just seen that his favorite energy drink brand sponsors a podcast that mocks climate kids. Now, for all the millennials and boomers here, you probably don't know what Climate Kids is. Climate Kids is an organization opened up by various companies to teach children the importance of climate and how to conserve it. So naturally, my brother was upset and quite angry. I mean, he's like, my favorite energy drink brand company? Not expected. Now, what does everyone expects us to do, right? Make a 20-minute rant video, then tag the company, and best thing, start hashtag cancel whatever. My brother did just the opposite. He opened the fridge, took out every single can, and emptied them inside the sink. The best part, he did it without filming it. He then changed his profile picture to plain black and dropped a screenshot in our WhatsApp group without any caption. What is he gonna do without any caption? What is he doing here? By night, all 21 of our cousins had done the same. By the weekend, our entire society was sharing black screens and empty fridge photos. No hashtag, no explanation. The company lost almost, any guesses? 12% of its teen sales in India. Massive, right? Poor guys, they still don't know how. Everyone thinks change needs noise, a voice, a million views, and on top of that, a celebrity repost. We Gen Zs discovered that the exact opposite is true. Once you make it loud, brands like Lay's, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, just wait 3 days, 4 days, maximum a week till the trend dies down. So there's no impact. But when 1 million kids disappear overnight without a single online word, panic. And this time, real panic. We Gen Zs don't need the stage anymore. We are capable of fighting in the dark, with our tech of course, which includes a lot. Venmos, QR codes, Discords, what not. The two main pillars for this quiet revolution are impact without performance and power without proof. Now, you might all be thinking the revolution is coming. No, the revolution isn't coming. It's already here and it's ghosting your screens. Now, I have an offer for all of you. You can join this revolution. The best part, it's free of cost. Thank you. Thank you.
So well spoken, Divyansh. Thank you so much. I now invite our next agile speaker, Vedang from class 8. Get ready to listen not just with your ears, but with your eyes, your intuition, and your heart.
Invite you to close your eyes and think about aliens. Yes, aliens. Close your eyes and think that aliens are here and they're judging us the basis on the basis of our social media platforms. The social media platforms, we all meticulously arrange ourselves to look perfect. Yes, those ones. Aliens would probably think what? That these are all perfect beings and these are all perfectly there and we wouldn't irritate them. Me, I'm a 13-year-old boy and I can't drive a car and I'm not old enough to vote. But I'm old enough to make an online personal brand on my social medias, because if you don't have any social media in this era, you're probably not seen. How many of you have taken a photo and deleted it immediately? Any hands? I can see a lot of hands. We are scared that we can't get the validation from that photo that we give ourselves. This is kind of like my room. It's really messy. It's not perfect. It looks like a tornado with Wi-Fi inside. We ourselves put 1,000 filters on each one of our photos. You've probably heard the quote that one picture is worth 1,000 words. But in our era, one picture is worth 1,000 filters. We don't just live our lives, we edit them. When we feel that our videos are not perfect, we delete, we cut, we attach filters, we arrange transitions, but that's not our true self. There's a fine line between the real life and the online life. In the online life, many people project a confident, calm, self-proposing image of themselves. And in real life, people are very clumsy, they trip over air and they don't even realize it. I once wanted a casual photo, one casual photo, which took 47 attempts, 3 light changes and 2 camera lens changes. It wasn't a photo, it was a professional photo shoot at this point. Just for what? A simple thumbs up. That hurt more than a dislike. Many people expect us to be perfect online. They expect us to think like a CEO, work like an athlete, work like an entrepreneur, train like an athlete, and study like a topper. When we don't achieve these things, we are falling behind and get shame on ourselves for being natural. Perfection is boring. We don't remember the moments that are not real. We remember moments which are not perfect. We remember the moments which are real. These are the moments which complex us to think about the things. One, where we embarrassed ourselves. One, we made others laugh. These are the things which should be embraced by all of us. We should be the real ones. Technology is a tool. It's a tool to learn, to entertain, and to communicate. It's not a mirror to be ashamed of ourselves. Technology should connect us and not make ourselves doubt ourselves. Be human. Thank you.
Very interesting, Vedang. Superb thought. From the way we communicate, to the way we think, to the way we connect, our next speaker opens a door to a new perspective. Let's begin our conversation with Tejas of class 8.
Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. The silence. Listen to it. What a privilege it is in today's noisy world. Good afternoon. I am Tejas Deepak Krishna, and today I stand before you to explore the beauty of a world without words. But first, let me ask you all one question. Do you think communication is limited to language only, both spoken and written? Anybody? Think about it. In the bustling cacophony of the modern world, it may seem so. What's with the constant WhatsApp messages, Instagram notifications, and incessant phone calls? We have truly cultivated a world where hyperconnectivity is top priority. But in this process, we have indeed eroded the profound essence of silent, non-verbal communication. In fact, according to a 2023 study summary published by EBSCO, non-verbal cues account for 60 to 93% of the emotional meaning in communication. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a time tens of millennia ago when language was non-existent. In this era, a sign to a fellow hunter-gatherer from afar could be life-saving. As surprising as it may seem, this kind of importance of non-verbal communication holds true even today. Let me share with you all an incident from my life. It was the year 2020 when COVID was at its peak, wreaking havoc across the world. It was a difficult time for everyone, and my family was no exception, as we had just lost my great-grandmother to COVID. And we all know that dealing with the loss of a loved one is hard. But what really got us through these trying times was the mere presence of our friends and loved ones. A hand on our shoulder and their comforting presence. This was all it took. But silence isn't the only way to communicate non-verbally, although the famous saying goes, silence speaks louder than words. In today's digitally hyperconnected world, emojis are a fun and easy tool for electronic communication. Sometimes I have had entire chats with my friends using just emojis. Even small, simple gestures can mean a lot. Here is something I'm sure we all here have experienced, but have never given a second thought to. You walk down the street and you see someone you barely know. They smile and nod at you, and you nod back. Tell me, how many of us have experienced this? Yeah, I'm sure everyone. This simple, non-verbal exchange holds something profound. It portrays a sense of respect and acknowledgement. Here is something I remember from my younger days. I was a very shy child. At the age of 6, we moved cities, and it was a very big change for me. Having joined a new school in this unfamiliar place, I was feeling nervous and clueless. On day 1, a few of my classmates just smiled and invited me to sit with them. These simple gestures paved the way to wonderful friendships ahead and got me out of my shell. Take my case. At this very moment, as I'm delivering this talk to you, beyond the language, there are so many more aspects to this cocktail of communication. Of course, This is not to undermine the power of language and words, without which I would not even be here. Some of the other aspects to communication are my body language, the hand gestures I make, and the eye contact that I maintain with you all, which can make or break this talk. You could also take the case of powerful world leaders, such as our own Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, and business tycoons, such as the beloved late Mr. Ratan Tata. Their posture and body language reflects dignity and power. Even the way they sit, stand, and shake hands commands a sense of respect and inspires millions across the world. And now, I would like to conclude my talk with a little food for thought. The next time you're caught up in the hustle bustle of your daily life, take a moment to appreciate and foster these simple, non-verbal modes of communication with the people around you in your life. Because your silent yet meaningful presence could mean the world to someone and put a smile on their face. So, what do you think of a world without words? Thank you.
That's some food for thought, Tejas. We are impressed. We've all been taught the value of the right answer, haven't we? In school, in business, we are conditioned to climb the ladder of logic, one step after another, straight up toward a single correct solution. Let's shed some myths with Rhea of Class 7. Please welcome her with a round of applause.
When I get older, I will be stronger. They call me freedom, just like a waving flag.
Wow, what a powerful song! Powerful thinking and a lovely audience for this beautiful evening. Greetings to all. Wait, where are my manners? I totally forgot to introduce myself. My name is Rhea Sahu, and today I'll be sharing my thoughts on the topic lateral versus vertical thinking. If we quietly and calmly think, what makes one powerful? Well, the answer is our thought process. It's when we think different, we become different. That's what was popularized by Apple's iconic ad of 1997. Let's take a look at these pictures. Observe what's common in all of them. Well, it may be sideways, inventive, innovative, creative, imaginative, and what not. These all are procreation of lateral thinking. What is the first word that comes to your mind when I mention lateral thinking? There might be endless words to it. Yes, think different, think lateral. The world is indeed quietly revolutionizing, quietly but steadily into the world of lateral thinking. There is transition in almost every single field. The shift that is happening from finding solutions, not from vertical, rather thinking laterally. From the Apollo 13 mission to our very favorite Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie. When I watched the movie, I was totally impressed by the way the director played around with lateral and creative thinking. And in the Apollo 13 mission, the astronauts led to a major breakthrough, even when they had limited resources. Coined by the famous Dr. Edward de Bono, lateral thinking is about thinking around the problem. It is an approach in which you look at the same situation from different angles. It helps you to think outside the box while connecting with different plausible ideas. On the other hand, vertical thinking is a straight path. It's like climbing a ladder step by step and you move up.
In most cases, vertical thinking cracks up with a solution. But what happens when we encounter a unreal situation? That time, creative thinking helps us find solutions. One just needs to be a bit of recalcitrant. Viewing problems in a new light definitely helps us. Vertical thinking is all about being selective, deductive, and it has always had the approval of being the best way. On the other hand, lateral thinking is non-linear, playful, experimental. This fits perfectly with children. They are absolutely amazing with their lateral thinking. Their minds are like blank pages which are yet to be filled with different inventions, creations, and never-ending things. They have the courage to recombine, invert, and repattern different things. So, you may ask, what's the way and difference between the way these two are applied? Well, vertical thinking is used in first, assembly of products. This is just like putting together a newly purchased furniture. You can't put the legs of a table on top, can you? That's just not right. You have to go as the way instructed. Second, in mathematics, lateral thinking fails us where strict methodology needs to be followed, like our very favorite subject, mathematics. Only the vertical thinking path here is correct. Third, in programming, you can't get it right unless and until you follow the rules and regulations. The world may have recently started taking lateral thinking into its cognizance, but its presence in our daily lives has always been there silently and quietly. Every Saturday morning, I get a taste of this thought process. My mother makes me delicious beetroot parathas, and if I am lucky, I may even get the green spinach pasta. We should always remember to appreciate them. In business, it evidently makes its mark. Like, first, Airbnb. It uses people's spare rooms instead of building hotels. Second, Netflix. It is an online streaming platform which has made physical DVD stores completely obsolete. And third, drone delivery. It is potentially cheaper and such a novel way to solve all our logistic problems, especially during natural disasters like earthquakes, tornadoes, etc. Lateral thinking has a few drawbacks too. First, it requires trial and error method, which slows down our decision-making speed and takes a lot of time to arrive at a point. Second, going against the traditional method of vertical thinking is not very welcoming in the society. That's why it is rightly said, to live a creative life, we must lose the fear of being wrong. One of the best examples that I could think of while pondering over this topic is that we use almost every single day. It may be Ola and Uber. It connects people with private drivers, covers the wide gap between demand and supply. No more searching on the roads. Phew, I don't have to wait that long in the sun now. Everything is safe and secured as it is monitored. Wow, only a brilliant thinking ability could have come up with this. That's why it is rightly said, both of the thinking styles are equally valuable and have their own methods. Well, both of the best effective method that you may do often involves a balance between the two. That's why it is said aptly, rightness is what matters in vertical thinking and richness is what matters in lateral thinking. So flip your thinking and watch the magic happen. Ready to be creative? Start thinking lateral today. Thank you.
Impressive ideas, Rhea. With the basket full of thoughts, we hereby conclude today's event. We are sure that all speakers have ignited a new spark in all of us and will lead to introspection. I invite all speakers on the stage for felicitation.
I request Ms. Smita Pendharkar, Principal of the Orbis School Mundwa, and Ms. Preeti Gurnani, Headmistress of the Orbis School Mundwa, to come up on the stage and please do the honors. I also request Ms. Masrat Tawawala and Ms. Tasneem from Sundarji's Global Academia to felicitate the young speakers.
We also request our Director Principal, Gunjan Ma'am, Principal Farida Ma'am, and Vice Principal Seena Ma'am to please accompany the guests onto the stage. Dear speakers, please step forward when your name is called out to receive the token of appreciation. Kanakdeep Kaur, Agraja, Devashri, and Ranveer.
Divyansh, Vedang, Tejas, and Rhea. I request the entire TEDx team of the students and the teachers to please join on the stage for a group photo. I would also like to appreciate the relentless efforts and contributions of our volunteers to make this event successful. Himanshi, Arohi, Ayush, Arya, Sachi, Harshvardhan, Ira, Nyanda, Gargi, and Shrutika. Please give a big round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, we hereby culminate this exciting event. Thank you for being such an amazing audience. Have a great weekend.